Fusion Mobile, quality e-learning experience on the go.
You are welcome to Fusion Mobile e-learning platform. I'm Odokubik Pelumi. By name, the accounting tutor, and who will be teaching in this class public sector accounting. We will be looking at the introduction, we will be looking at the user of government accounting, we will be looking at the purpose of government accounting, the basis of government accounting, we will be looking at the source of government revenue, whereby we will be looking at the federation accounts, which consist of the consolidated revenue funds. Consolidated revenue fund, federation fund, development funds, and contingencies funds. We also will be looking at government expenditure, we'll be looking at government revenue, and we are going to take some illustrative questions. Now, introduction. Generally, government accounting is prepared to determine the total amount of receipt of money by the government and payment of money by the government. That is, determine the receipt of money and total expenditure. That is the amount of expenditure paid out by the government, and also amount of what receipts, amount of money being received by the government. So whether either at the state level or at the local government level or at the federal level. So user of government accounting. What are the user of government accounting? Number one, the president can usually use the federation account for planning purposes, or also the government of the governor of the state can use that, and the chairman of local government can also use that for. The president can use that. President is one of the users, followed by the governor of the state, and followed by the local government chairman. Then also we have another user again, potential investors. That is, the foreign investors can also use government accounting. So we talk about the foreign investors can also use what? Government accounting. And then also can also use government accounting. The legislature in the company, that is the Zenith, the House of Assembly, can also use the what? The government accounting to serve as the base of planning. Also, the general public will also need the information provided by the government through the preparation of government accounting, and also the foreign and local creditors also to the government. We also want to know the government accounting. They want to know what the government prepared for them and what the government have for them, and so on and so forth like that. So we have many users, so you can research to know more about the users of government accounting. Now we have the purpose of government accounting. Why the preparation of government accounting? Now, number one, the preparation of government accounting serves the purpose of planning for the government, and also by knowing the amount of revenue and the amount of expenditure made during the period, government can know how to control and plan such state of economy and something like that. Also, the second purpose of government accounting, of having government accounting, can also be in the face of the government to be able to know the total amount of revenue and expenditure it received during the period. Also, we can also have the purpose of government accounting because it enables the government to be able to forecast future objective for the country and future aims of the company. So we have a lot of purpose of government accounting. The reason why the government of the country is designed to prepare government account, why they decide to prepare accounting record for the country. So you have a lot of reasons for that, so you can just research and know more about that. Now, basis of government account. Generally in accounting we have two bases. We have the cash basis and we have the accrual basis. We have the cash basis and the accrual basis. Now, in government accounting, the basis of accounting being used is the cash basis. Is the cash basis. That is an asset when government an asset, or let's start with the revenue. Revenue and expenses are being recognized in the period in which they are being earned and in the period when they are being paid for. So that is when government recognize revenue and expenses. So it means government is going to recognize revenue when cash is being received, and they are going to recognize expenses where cash is being paid. So it does not matter whether they are being incurred in the period or not. It is when the cash has been received and when the cash has been paid that way the government is going to recognize revenue and expenses. So that's what we call the cash basis of accounting. It's in opposite of what? In opposite of the business organization that uses the accrual basis. So the next thing we have sources of, okay, let's talk about the difference between the government accounting and the commercial organization or public company accounting or private company accounting. Let's put it that way, private company accounting and government accounting. So the difference between distinctions, a lot of distinctions. Now, the major aim of government is to provide, satisfy the needs and the interests of a citizen. That is the reason why we have the government account, to be able to satisfy the interest of the citizen. Why the major aim of the private sector accounting, that is private sector accounting, is to make profits. Is major aim of preparing is to know the total amount of performances and the amount of profits they made within the period. Why the number two is that the government's accounting uses the cash basis in the recognition of its what, of its revenue and expenses, while the public sector accounting uses this what, uses this accrual basis of recognition of income and expenses within a particular period. And again, the difference between government accounting can also come in this form, that in government accounting, an asset that is bought within a particular period of time is usually written off in the period in which the asset is being bought. The assets are write off in the period in which they are being bought. While in public sector accounting, an asset is written and the cost of an asset is spread over the useful life of the asset, while compared as opposed to the government accounting, whereby an asset is written off and the year is in which it is bought, as well in the private sector accounting, the cost of the asset is usually spread over the useful life of the asset. So we have a lot of differences between public sector accounting and government accounting. So you can research on that to know more about the differences. Now we have the sources of government revenue. Government derives its revenue from different sources. They derive its money from different sources. And we are going to talk about the source of revenue to the federal government. We are going to talk about the source of revenue to the state government. We are going to talk about the source of revenue to the local government. So the local. Now federal government. Generally, the federal government receives the revenue from the direct tax by taxing an individual and also taxing corporate bodies in the country. That is one of the major sources. And also it derives resources from indirect taxes. That is from imports, from other selling of goods and services, as it's going down. So it derives like corporations and other sources like that, which is indirect tax, that is taxing anything of goods and services, like the imports. We have a lot of them like that. So again, the federal government can also derive its revenue by earnings and sales. The government can also derive its revenue from by earnings and sales. That is, the federal government can derive the revenue from the sales of petroleum and some sales of properties and items. The federal government can also derive its revenue from the selling of arms through the army forces. Yeah. The sales of arms and weapons, they can also derive the revenue through that process. Okay, the government can also derive its revenue from the issues of licenses. The government issues licenses to different companies and organizations or individuals, maybe car licenses and a lot of things like that. The government can also derive its revenue from that. Federal government can also derive its revenue from that. Now, the next thing is the states. How did the state government derive its revenue? The state government also derive its revenue from different sources. They derive its revenue from different sources. Okay, number one will be the statutory allocation. That is the allocation given by the federal government to the states. So statutory, there is usually allocated revenue to each of the states of the federation. So that is also serve as source of revenue to the state government. And state government can also derive revenue from rents of its property or rates. They can charge rates. So also they can also derive revenue from licenses by issuing licenses, maybe can licenses, a lot of licenses that can be issued which the state government can derive revenue from. Now let's look at the local government. We have other sources too, a lot of them, so you can just research and know more of the government sources. Now let's move to the local government. Local government also derive its revenue And the first, maybe they can derive their revenue from statutory allocation, either from the federal government or from the state government. So also they can also derive their revenue from fines, you know, when you file maybe through court charges, maybe a court cases. So the government can usually charge fines an individual or any corporate bodies. And also, so we have the local governments. The local government receives revenue from the statutory allocation from either the federal government or the state government. So they can also derive their revenue from fines, which is this. And also the government can also derive its revenue from park. Yes, collection from park. They can build parks. So what happens? They can derive revenue from that. They can also build markets for market stores. The government also derive revenue from what? From market stores. And also event center. You can also receive their revenue from different event center. So they have different sources in which the local government also can also derive its revenue. Now the next thing is the federation account. So the federal government has different number of accounts kept by it. So we have the consolidated revenue fund, we have the foundation fund, we have the development fund, we have the contingencies fund. Now what is the consolidated fund revenue fund all about? The consolidated revenue fund is the major source of account to the federal government, in which all of the revenue or majority of the revenue received by the federal government are entered to. So that is the major source of revenue goes to the consolidated revenue fund, like revenue from petroleum and other major sources. It goes to the word consolidated revenue fund. And all major expenses by the government, the expenditure by the government, is also taken from this was consolidated revenue fund, like expenditure that is recurrent expenditure, payment of salaries to workers in the federation, and a lot of that. And also we have and also the consolidated revenue fund, the charge to the consolidated revenue fund also can be taken to other form of account of the federal government. There might be some allocation from the consolidated revenue fund to any of these funds, maybe the development fund. So money can be taken from the consolidated fund to any of these funds. Can be taken to the development fund, also can also be taken to contingencies fund. So the next one is the foundation fund. Now the foundation fund is one of the accounts maintained by the federal government, and that shows all of the revenue received directly from government workers. And so that is formed by the civil organization. So all of the revenue received from government workers is usually entered into the foundation fund, and some personal expenses is taken from the fund. So we have the development fund. Development fund, this fund is formed for development project of the government. So all of the capital projects made by the government is taken from this fund, all development projects. So some money is put into this fund to enable governments to develop the economy of the country. So all of the development project of the country is taken from this fund. So the next one, we have the contingencies fund. Look at the name contingencies. This government have this fund to meet any form of contingencies in the future, any form of disaster in the future. So the government just have this fund to meet unexpected or unsuddenly disaster or any form of contingencies in the future. That is why government maintain this such fund. So if there's any famine, disaster in the economy, government will not have problem in solving such a problem, in solving such a disaster, since there is the availability of this fund. So the next thing we have is maybe there is violence in the economy in a part of the country. What will happen? Government will easily solve such violence or such problem within the economy by taking some amount of money from these funds. So the next thing we have government expenditure and also have government revenue. So we have different type of government. What is government expenditure? Government expenditure means all of the payment which the government made, all of the costs incurred by the government in maintaining the economy. That's all of the money spent by the government within a particular period forms the government expenditure. So it forms the government spending in a particular period. So When talking about the government expenditure, we have two types of government expenditure. We have the capital expenditure. We have the capital expenditure and recurrent expenditure. So the capital expenditure, this kind of capital expenditure, the capital expenditure includes the government spending on capital projects, something that can last for more than 1 year, that can be used, that can be seen. So government spends like building motor cars, road construction, and residential building, industrial building, government houses, and so on and so forth like that. That includes the capital expenditure. So the next one we have is the recurrent expenditure. That is the type of expenditure that come up to the government. That is the spending that come up to the government every year or every month. That means government makes this type of expenditure from one period to another, and they are not usually fixed in nature. They include the salaries of workers, basically the salary of workers, because government spends money on salary of workers from one period to another, so they occur recurrently. Now that is why we call them recurrent expenditure. Now the next one is the government revenue. Government revenues serve as total receipts of government, that is total amount of money received by the government, so we term it as the government revenue. Same thing, we have total government revenue, we have the capital revenue, and the recurrent revenue. Okay, this type of revenue is usually received by the government from capital projects. If there is any capital project that already was capital investments that start eating to the government, such aid forms what? Capital revenue. So such money is received from such aid is called capital revenue. So from capital project. Now recurrent revenue, this is major source of government revenue in which government we receive recurrently, that they receive it from one period to another. That includes money from petroleum, the recurrent one, direct taxes, and so on and so forth like that. So they consist of recurrent government revenue. Now let's take an illustrative questions on government accounting, that is public sector accounting. Let's see how the accounting is. So we are going to prepare the receipt and payment account. We are going to prepare the receipt and payment account to show the total amount of receipts and total amount of what's payment made by the government. We are going to prepare the income and expenditure account also to see how government's total source of income to the government and total source of what expenditure to the government. So we are going to look at that. Also, we are going to look at some different allocations of revenue, either from the states to the local government or from the federal government to the state government, and so on and so forth like that. So we have an illustration for the year ended 31st December 1993. The government approved 50 million naira to 5 local government areas in the country. The allocation was distributed as follows: 50% on the quality of local government, 50% on population basis. So 50% of the amount goes to equality of the local government and equality of local government, and 50% will go on population basis. We divided on population basis. Area of local government generated the following additional revenue. A particular local government generated this revenue, which is area, and also what include the following expenses. So we are asked to prepare a statement showing. So we are asked to prepare a statement showing the allocation made to each local government and receipt and payment account of area local government for the year ended 31st December 1993. Now let's prepare how we are going to calculate this. How are we going to allocate this revenue approved to the 5 local governments? So how are we going to allocate it? So the 50 million naira, how are we to allocate it to the 5 local government? Now, A, we assume that 50% on equality of local government. So 50% is on equality of local government. So amount allocated, amount is then 15 million naira, around 50%. Can we 50 over 100 times 20 times 50 million naira? So 50 year 1, 50 year 2, 50 year 1, 2 year 25. So the amount to be shared between the 5 local government will there be 25 million naira. So equality basis now, 5 local governments. So 5 local governments. So each local government receive, each local government is going to receive 25 million over 5. Then we now have 5 million naira for each local government to receive. Now the next one is 50% on population basis. 50%, okay, on population basis. That means amount to be shared on 50% on population basis will also be 25 million naira. This is 50%. Now amount to be received by every local government will be number of people in what every local government is 1 million naira over total number of population times 25 million naira. So we have 0 cancel 0, 0 cancel 0. It's 5 year 1, 5 year 5. So every local government now is going to see 5 million naira, 5 million naira cheap population basis. Now the next thing is Kudi local government. That will be its population is 2 million naira over 2 million population, 2 million people rather, sorry, 2 million people times total amount 25 million naira to be shared. So we have this 5 year 1, 5 year 5, that give us 10 million naira to be allocated based on the population of the country. Now the next one is world local government. Population of a world local government is 500,000 people over 5 million times 25 million naira. So 0 cancel 0 here, 0 cancel 0. So 5 year 1, 5 year 10, 3 year 1, 3 year 1. So we have 2. So 2.5 million naira to be collected by Kudi local government. Now next thing is, so we have the Zika local government. Its population is 1 million. We have 1 million people over 5 million people. Total population signed 25 million naira to be shared. We have this 5 year 1, 5 year 5. So Zika will also have 5 million naira as its allocation on population basis. Now is your local government. Its population is 500,000 people over 5 million times 25 million naira. So I think this will give us 10. Then this that give us 2.5 million naira. So we are done in the allocation of it. So we are asked to a statement showing the allocation made to each local government. So we have statements of allocation. Then we have again have local governments. So we have how many local government? 5 local government. We have EGO. We have Kudi. we have Owo, we have Sika, and we have Eyo government. So we have equal basis. On equal basis, how much did each local government receive? On each equal basis, each local government receive on equal basis, each local government is going to receive 5 million naira. So 5 million naira. 5 million naira on equal basis. 5 million naira. Equal basis. 5 million naira. Now the next one is what other basis again? Population basis. So that will be Ego is 5 million naira. So naira and naira. So Kudi is 10 million naira. So Owo is 2.5 million. Okay, Sika is 5 million naira, and Eyo is 2.5 million naira. So we can have total allocation. We have 10 million naira here. We have 15 million naira here. We have 7.5 million naira here. We have 10 million naira here. We have 7.5 million naira here. Now, receipt and payments of Sika local governments, area local government, receipts and payments account. Area local government, receipt and payments account of area local government. Now we have the receipt and payment account of area local governments. Receipt and payment accounts and payment accounts of area local government. So we have allocation, total receipts. Allocation serves as a receipt to it. Allocation, we receive allocation of 7.5 million naira. That will serve as a receipt. Now, our local government generated the following additional revenue. So all these are revenue are receipts. We have rates. Our receipts are debited. We have 20,000 naira. We have licenses, which is 30,000 naira. We have fines, which is 10,000 naira. We have park collection, which is 25,000 naira. So all the payment now, you incur the following expenses. These are payments in the period. You have stationery, so 10,000 naira. So we have salaries, which is going to be 50,000 naira. We have repairs and vehicle, repairs of vehicles, it's going to be 2,000 naira. We have electricity, which is going to be 5,000 naira. What again do you have? I think that is all. So we can balance the account now. We have the account balance. can have the account balance. We have we had this with 7.5 million plus 20 million. This will be greater plus 30 million thousand plus 20,000 rather plus 30,000 plus 10,000 plus 25,000, and then give us 758 5000 so 7,585,000. So we have balance carried down. So add everything. We have 10,000 naira plus 50,000 naira plus 22,000 naira plus 5,000 naira. So subtract that from the total this thing, total revenue. So we have 7,518,000. So that's as the what, as the balance remain in with local government at the period. So balance brought down 7,518,000 there. So that is all about the receipt and payment of area local government. So this is how to allocate revenue to each local government. So we're told that 15% will go to the equality basis. So we said 50% on 50 million, that gives us 25 million naira. So we divide that by the what? By 5 local governments. Since 25 million naira is to be shared equally, that will give you 5 million naira for each local government. And we were told that 50% on should be shared to the local government on population basis. That means 50% of the 50 million naira will be 25 million naira. So we divide that, we share that on the population basis. Ergo have 1 million people over total population, which is 5 million times what we have to share on population basis. So each local government have a population basis, and equality basis to each local government is 5 million naira. Equality basis 5 million naira, and each ergo is having 5 million. Then that is the total allocation, and total allocation for every local government is 5.57 million 500,000. So that is why we have it here, and we're told that we receive all this revenue and all this payment. So we use this to be paying our receipt and payment account of your local government. So we have an illustrations again. That is example 2. The following balances were extracted from the books of Origbo local government. So we have the debit, which shows the total payments in the period, and we have what credit, which shows the total receipts. So we were told that we should prepare that we are required to prepare the receipt and payments account of Origbo local government. So we will do that now. Receipts and payments accounts of Origbo local government. So done that, we have this now. And the next thing is salaries and wages. We are going to have receipts here. All of the receipts will come here. And payment this side. So we have wages, salary and wages is the payment in the period. All payment will be at the debit side in the balance sheet. And wages and salary. For salaries and wages, we have 204,300. Now, vehicle expenses. Vehicle expenses. So we have 2,480. So we have vehicle purchases. Vehicle purchases. It's also a payment. We have 50,200. We have stationery, which is also a payment. So that is 15,000 there. So we have road maintenance. Which is 20,140. So we have hospital drugs. So we have hospital drugs, 40,000 naira. So now grants, which shows the total received in the period. Grants, we have government grants, so which is from the states and federal in the period. So state is 20,000 naira. We have federal 30,000 naira. So we have rates. Rates is 15,350. So we have surgery income is also that explains itself. It's also received. We have 52,630. So the next thing we have bank charges. Bank charges is the payment. Bank charges, we have 3,780. So we have tenement rate. This about an income. Tenement rate is 250,000 naira. So you have licenses, which is 105,000 naira 480. So we have subvention to school, which is 2,900. Now, okay, bank balance, that will be balance carried down on our receipts and payment accounts. So it means the amount we are still having, and that amount is in the bank. The amount we are still having at the end of the period and is in the bank. So the amount we are having at the beginning of the period, let's do it down, which is what is it? 94,660. So carry down will be here, which is 94,660. So if add everything together, we're going to have balance account, which is 493. Okay, when we have everything here, we're going to give us 493, 460. So when we add everything here, 493, 460. So that is all about receipt and payment account. So in the receipt and payment account, all payments are credited, just like the cash book we treated. So all payments are credited. So all of these salaries are credited here. So and all of this receipt here, all of these expenses we have here, credited. All the same payments are credited, and the balance too is also what? Balance carried down, balance brought down. So all of this now, that is receipt in the period, are what? Are debited. They represent receipt. So and they are credited in the balance. So we have this. So we have the total accounts. We have prepared the receipt and payment account of Origbo local government. So we have all receipts here, which are on the credit side here. So generally in receipt and payment account, all receipts are usually debited, while all payments are what? Are credited. So these are the what? The receipt in the period. That is, we have the grants, state and federal. We have the rates, we have sundry income, we have the tenement rates, we have the licenses, we have the receipts which will be debited, and all the payments in the period, all the payments here with the period. Following double entry principle, if salary and wages is debited, what will happen? Receipt and payment will be credited. So all the payments we have to be credited in the receipt and payment account. We've done public sector accounting, so we talk about the meaning of public sector accounting. We look at the difference between public sector accounting and private sector accounting, that is government accounting, which we actually did on the board. Thereafter, we move to the source of revenue to the government. How the government generate the revenue. We talk about the users of public sector accounting, that is government accounting. We also talk about the purpose of public sector accounting. Then we look at some how to allocate revenue to different local governments in the state in form of calculation, and how to prepare the receipt and payment account of government accounting. So if you have any problems or any confusion as regard to this topic, please do not hesitate to replay the video. And again, do not hesitate to replay the video. So and again, some exercises will be displayed on the screen. Please make sure you attend such exercises. Thank you.